Welcome back.
What's up?
Not much, man. We're gonna get into a lot of topics. The biggest one's probably going to be the Batman. We're gonna touch on the Batman. We'll do a little bit of the Batman on the front end,
Got it. Okay.
and then when we get to the end, we're gonna pause, allow people to tune out, and then we'll get into some of like
The spoiler stuff.
spoiler content. Yeah. So
So
we'll
you want like you want to talk like our reation to it, and then
yeah,
get
we'll
into-
do reactions on the front end just to kind of kick off with that because obviously it's the biggest thing, and then we'll circle back. We'll circle back.
All right. I can't contain myself.
All right. So I'll start. I'll get some initial reactions. Let's just go with very simple yes or no. Did you like it?
Yes.
Okay.
Did you?
Yes,
Okay.
I did.
Good.
Where do you place Robert Pattinson in the hierarchy of Batmans?
I think he gave an awesome portrayal of a young, inexperienced, socially broken, but trying to find, I won't say a moral compass, but trying to find affinity within himself of what exactly he is as Bruce Wayne and Batman.
So he's like not your favorite, but you enjoyed him.
I enjoyed him.
Okay.
I enjoyed him, and I think it's a great starting point for the character.
Yeah.
And I think as a character study, I think that's how they went into it, rather than when an actor goes into a role, they are, okay, this is the character, this is the role, this is what my ideology of them is, and this is what it's going to be, their arc, redemption, or what have you, through the entire movie, and then boom, it's over, right? With this particular Bruce Wayne / Batman, I think they had a great idea of what they wanted. Like, we want this to be a starting point. We don't want to walk away from this as he is completely who he is and after this.
Yeah.
So it got me more excited for the sequel, or to see where it goes.
All right.
Total inverse of my reaction to Dune.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's do villains. Yes or no, you liked the portrayal of the villains included in the film?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, we can go to it a little later, but yes, I think the grounding and the reimagining of supervillains in a more realistic world is great,
Yeah.
right? My only, and I'll talk about this a little later. Actually, I'll save that part. I enjoyed it. I'll let you go. When we get into spoilers, I'll talk a little more about it.
I'm so on the villains. How'd you feel about the runtime?
That shit was brutal.
Brutal. Yeah.
Very brutal.
Yeah.
I think I had to go to the bathroom like 2 hours and like 20 minutes in. And
Tough to get through it.
And I just was like, I'm just going to have to hold it.
Yeah.
And I did Google beforehand if there were like any after credits.
Yes.
So I made it the entire time, ran to the bathroom, and then came back for the post-credit scene or,
Okay.
cut scene or whatever it
Yeah.
was. But it's brutal. It should have been. They could have trimmed it. They could have trimmed it down
Certainly
to
could
like
have
245.
trimmed it. Certainly could have trimmed
A
it.
few scenes weren't needed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. All right. I think that kind of wraps up my quick interview round for the Batman.
You were interviewing me about the Batman?
Kind of. I was just kind of getting your initial thoughts, I think.
Right.
It's tough to talk about it without getting into much, I feel like, that could potentially ruin it. So I was just trying to get some hot takes.
Gotcha.
Takes on the front end.
Right.
With, where you were at. My final question on it would be your overall satisfaction. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being like it met every hope and desire I ever had for the film, and 1 being it was a complete miss. Obviously, a lot of hype. I feel like any reimagining of the Batman always gets that.
Right.
And it's been a long time coming with COVID and all of that. I feel like it was in production for quite some time,
Very long
delayed
time.
and all that. So you went and saw it as soon as you could. How do you feel, again, on a number scale? Where would you put it?
Strong 7.5.
Strong 7.5.
Yeah.
All right. Where would you have placed Christopher Nolan's series as a whole? I know that it's not fair
The series as a whole?
Yeah, as a whole. Let's
I
just go
give
for it.
Nolan's entire Dark Knight trilogy a nice. I give it a strong 9.
Okay. All right. Great. That just helps me know where we're
Okay.
at. It's good. Okay.
I mean, by far my favorite Batman iteration is the Nolan trilogy. So
yeah, it's tough to.
it aged
beat
well.
that.
I'll say that.
Yeah, it did. All right. Well, on to other news. Avatar 2. They confirmed this week that it will, in fact, come out this year. It has been delayed. It originally was supposed to come out, I think, in 2014.
This shit came out like 20 years ago, right?
I know. It's been forever.
I don't even remember.
It's been forever. But yeah, it was, interestingly enough, another 3-hour movie. That was actually 3 hours plus. I think it was like 320. But that was, the sequel, I think, was like really supposed to come out like a couple of years after the first one, and then it got like infinitely delayed. And so now it's coming out 2022, and then there will be an Avatar film, I think, every year from here on out.
I don't need it.
I think there's going to be a total of 5, including the first one, I want to say.
Brother.
Seems like a lot of Avatar. They've really banked on that series. Gosh, can you imagine? I just feel like he's been working on those movies forever and ever and ever and ever. There has to be so much money
Just
invested in it at this point. It's hard to imagine.
what was the holdup?
Well, that's a great question. With a lot of James Cameron films in the past, he has come up with concepts that challenge the limitations of production
Got it.
ability,
Yeah.
if you will. So, like, for the first Avatar, the things that he wanted to make happen, a lot of the equipment and technology
Didn't exist.
did not exist. So they actually had to create a lot of things in order to accomplish what he was trying to
It's a very
make
futurist
happen.
viewpoint,
Yeah.
a creative
but
standpoint.
he's kind of known for doing that. I mean, he has obviously a catalog that speaks for itself. But
Oh yeah,
So yeah, I thought that was an interesting headline. Again, it feels like we'll never see an Avatar sequel, but they must be out there. He's obviously, I mean, he posts pictures of them every once in a while.
Yeah.
So it's in the works.
He's him, Scorsese, those guys, like the big producers and directors outside of the superhero genre. They're like fed up with the Marvel landscape. So
Yeah.
we talked about
Marvel
that
is like
last year.
insanely good at just cranking movies
Just
out. though.
cranking it out.
Like it's a beast. They really do produce films at like a pretty consistent rate, quality wise
Yeah.
and timeline wise. Like they're really good at that. Obviously, James Cameron, he struggles. I feel like a lot of the like really highly regarded filmmakers struggle with that.
Yeah.
Christopher
Yeah.
Nolan is probably the only one
Who
who's
can kind of
like
keep it pumping.
consistently, like every few years, like you get a movie out of him. But like David Fincher has been he's not really made movies in a while. I mean, he had that one recently on Netflix, or what was it called, Mink or something like that. It was
Mink?
black and white.
Did not see it.
I think it pulled a couple of awards, but like it wasn't in theaters. I I mean, maybe there was like a limited release, but he's been doing like TV shows and all that for a while. Anyway, speaking of other big filmmakers and movies that are
in production or coming or announced
soon, Indiana Jones 5 wrapped production this week as well.
Is this Harrison coming back, or is this like the young Indiana?
I don't think he left. He's still in it.
Yeah, because he did 4. He's in it. Okay,
yeah.
then I'm on board.
Yeah. So
I'm a big Harrison Ford guy.
But are we ready? Like, I feel like at this stage in the game, he's getting a little geriatric. Like, I do like him. I really do. It kind of gets to the point, though, where you almost feel like you don't want to remember him that way, if that makes sense. Like, I want to remember Harrison Ford and Indiana Jones as, like,
the stud.
Yeah, young guy that's, like, making it happen. Yeah. Not that, like, again, like, I mean, Daniel Craig, you know, did well in Bond and all that, but I feel like Harrison Ford's getting up there in age. I'm not exactly sure how old he is, but
yeah, we last saw him in what? He had a movie with like a dog or something on Disney Plus.
That's right, he did. Yes,
I didn't watch it.
Yeah, I didn't watch it either. Gosh, what was that called? In either case,
something. Was it called Dog?
No, there is a movie I think out with that's called Dog right now. But that's not it.
And the last time we saw him before that was the last Rise of the Skywalker.
Yes.
Indeed. And he looked. Yep. You can tell when someone is. No, don't get me wrong. He's definitely aging gracefully.
Oh, sure. And he does a good job. I feel like it's time
you don't want to remember him being old. Yeah.
I was kind of excited in the fourth one because I thought, and I know everybody's like, you know, kind of hot and cold on, you know, Shia LaBeouf, but I was excited because I was like, okay, cool. We're going to
transition to the new guy.
Yeah, hand the reins off, and we can kind of get like some new Indiana Jones stories rolling. Because I like I like that world. I like that, like,
it's self-contained.
I like all that. I would like to see more of it. I don't know if I need like the Star Wars interpretation where like all of a sudden like Disney just cranks stuff out nonstop. But I could do with more Indiana Jones in my life.
I would like maybe a new. I wouldn't mind. We're gonna get 5, and then that means you can't get a reboot for a very long time, but at least 5 years anyway. But I wouldn't mind a newer interpretation of Indiana Jones. Kind of retell the stories from a different perspective. And
who's your pick for Indiana Jones? If you could,
someone who fits that mold is probably like and I would probably go younger, like really young. Maybe how he became, like when we first meet Indiana Jones, he's the professor.
Yeah.
Right. So he's done like.
Yeah, he was kind of like middle-aged, early middle-aged.
Already.
I mean, he wasn't like in his 20s, I don't think.
He had to be at least like in his 30s.
Early 40s, yeah.
You know, like, I don't want to, was he banging the college chicks? It was kind of interpreted. And like, you remember that scene when we first meet him?
Now that I think about it, but I can't recall exactly how that played out.
So he couldn't have been too old. I don't think he was, but it was in kind of like an underlying thing, like the
different time. Yeah. Like where they made those jokes.
Yeah, not so safe anymore.
Cancel culture comes for us all.
But I would want to go younger. Like, I don't really know the backstory of Indiana Jones. Like, was he in the service? Was he, you know?
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
It's interesting because I feel like it's a character that is so famous and so well known, but really there's only like 3 movies. Yeah. Like the fourth one I know counts, but by the time the fourth one came out, he was like
older,
infamous. Like he was.
Oh, he was Harrison. Like
yeah. But it's interesting to think that like it only takes 3 movies to get like, you know, that much legacy. Yeah, if you will.
I don't know, man. I probably would go. I like the kid from Euphoria. What is it? Lordy? Last name is Lordy. The real tall kid. Mm-hmm. He fits the mold. I like Chris Pratt, but I feel like at this point he would probably be as old as Indiana Jones is in the first movie.
Yeah, Chris Pratt is an interesting character. I like him a lot. I feel like he had a good chance of being an Indiana Jones. I feel like now I feel like
now it's somebody else's role time.
I feel like if they put him in that, I feel like people would I don't know. Maybe it's too expected. I don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
I just feel like people would get a little weird about him being in that role. I feel like they might get a little
Meh. Yeah.
about it.
A little meh about it. I like Tom Holland. I feel like he's a little too short.
Well, he's also Uncharted. So,
Yeah, he's in that too.
which I think they'll keep those going, even though it didn't get.
Did you see
it? I didn't know.
No, I didn't see it. I'll wait for it to stream.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have a long list for Indiana Jones, but
excited for it. Would you go see that in theaters, or is that one that you would like?
Nah, that's going to be a Disney Plus.
You let
I'll
that
wait,
come out later.
I don't, and I'm a big Harrison Ford fan, but that's not one I'm.
Yeah. Did you see the Obi-Wan Kenobi trailer?
I made a note to talk to you about that.
Okay.
So the gang is back.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan. We see some clips of him kind of watching over young Luke, which is cool, very cool to see. We see the Grand Inquisitor, which is a deep cut for people who aren't privy to Star Wars lore. And then Hayden is back as Vader.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
This really, and it's a shame because Mandalorian and like Boba Fett, I really enjoyed those, and I think that they are special. But this, when I saw the trailer for it, it felt like, oh,
Star Wars.
this is Star Wars.
Yeah.
Like this is it looks like a movie, not a TV show.
This is what people, and I think what Marvel, because what Marvel is doing, what Disney is doing with their comic book properties and the Star Wars properties is creating a great way with Disney Plus to tell those intersecting stories on a new platform in different ways and really capture all genres, right? The Mandalorian is really a space. Star Wars is supposed to be space western meets samurai wizards.
Yeah.
And I feel like what they're doing is really dichotomizing that and breaking it down into those two things and keeping elements of it to remain Star Wars, but kind of telling those individual genre-esque stories, like with The Mandalorian being really, really Western. Mm-hmm. And now I feel like we're going to really get into the deep Jedi lore of with Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
Yeah, seeing him. I saw the trailer.
It looks good.
Yeah, it
looks good. He looks good. I thought all the actors, they looked great. I thought it was a very, very strong teaser trailer.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about that. When I was at the Batman, they obviously were promoting Morbius. And I know you have some thoughts about Morbius. I do too. I don't really know the character all that well. I'm not as deep into all the comic book stuff as you are. It seems like Sony is really reaching with
cash grab, bro.
With the characters that they have access to. I have never really bought into Jared Leto too much.
No. I like Jared Leto. I just haven't seen anything that blows me away.
Yeah. And the Morbius thing, I don't feel like it's going to change that.
No. Okay. This is my problem.
I mean, tell me I'm wrong.
No, you're not wrong at all, buddy. I feel like Sony is really trying to... So it's a licensing thing, right? In order for them to keep that license IP of Spider-Man, they have to continue chucking out projects, right? It's something that has something to do with the rights and how they bought it. They have to continue using properties from that Spider-Man. And
if they don't, it just goes back up for grabs?
It can go back up for grabs, right?
Got you.
Or it defunks back to Disney or something like that.
Okay.
So now they don't really have the Spider-Man. The Spider-Man is Tom Holland, and he's in the MCU, right?
But not 100% in a legal sense, is he? I mean,
No.
isn't it kind of like a shared thing at this point?
Yeah,
but still,
yeah.
Sony like owns it.
Yes, right.
They kind of like lease it out.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they don't complain because they probably get like a huge cut.
Correct.
Yeah.
So with that is, all right, well, Disney's kind of running with Spider-Man, and like No Way Home kind of could really change. You know, we see Toby come back and Andrew Garfield came
Yeah,
back.
yeah.
And, you know, now there's multiverse and, you know, story-wise, they can make it work. They can use other Spider-Men, but the Spider-Man right now is Tom Holland. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
Feige doesn't want to intersect the Sony universe that they got going on with the MCU stuff. So they're going to continue chucking out
random things,
just random trash.
But could Sony, and again, there may not be any way of knowing this, but could Sony do another Spider-Man unaffiliated to the MCU? I wonder if they could split that up. Like, let's say the whole Andrew Garfield and like that whole thing that came out of No Way Home. Obviously, a lot of people were excited about that.
Yeah.
So could Sony come back into the cut and say, we're going to do The Amazing Spider-Man, we're going to relaunch that, or we're going to pick back up with Andrew Garfield and we're going to do Sinister Six and we're going to move forward with all that stuff. We put it on ice and we're going to do it again.
I think if you're going to do it, that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
But
I just wonder if they would even be able to do it. Or does...
I think they can do what they want.
Yeah.
It's
just Disney and Marvel that maybe can't do what they
can't.
want.
Yeah, they can't do what they want. But Sony
could.
They outright own the movie and the movie rights to Spider-Man. So they can kind of do whatever they want. And if you were going to do it, that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't, right? Like, I wouldn't want to oversaturate the market. I wouldn't want to convolute the stories. And you're making money. You got a Spider-Man. Just let him just do that. Like, there's other ways.
But I could see Sony wanting to
of
hold the
course.
bag themselves.
Yes.
Rather than split it with Disney. And I think what No Way Home did was offer that opportunity. Because if you were to put out The Amazing Spider-Man 3 and do a Sinister Six film, like if you were to kind of branch that back off, you would bring all the Marvel fan base now with you.
Back over, yeah.
No, and not that they would switch sides or something. I'm just saying, like, they're invested now in a way they probably haven't been invested in the past. And you're kind of riding the Disney train a little bit.
And people love Andrew Garfield.
Well, that's the thing, is I feel like there's enough money there in that idea and in that concept, like,
to do it. And
they have all these other characters now that they've kind of established. Like, it's weird. They could kind of do their own little side universe.
Yeah.
And
the problem is they're not good at it.
Yeah, they've had some issues, it seems.
That's the problem.
But you could, like, I don't
Venom's
know.
not good.
I feel like you could, I don't know.
They're not,
I say that you could get a good filmmaker and like you could make it
you
all
could do
happen,
it, you
but
know.
It's not. It's like it's more of a money thing than it probably.
And if they were
is.
smart, right? You know, you got your Spider-Man over here. If you want to do this, just partner with the creatives over at Disney.
Yeah.
And say, hey guys, look, you got Spider-Man going.
Yeah, but they're gonna have to turn over so much of the cash.
I wouldn't even say license it out so Disney could do it. I would say hire the guys, come over here, contract it out.
I don't think Disney would do that.
Fuck
I think
no. Those guys are in-house.
They got their team like locked in.
Black suits will come rolling up soon as you got an offer in the mail.
You could pull out an Amazing Spider-Man 3.
Yeah, I think they could do it.
You could steal some of the action from
even straight to streaming, maybe even a show, you know, something to, you know, like there's no Spider-Man show right now.
I don't see them doing a show.
Two Spider-Mans in the theaters right now would just be, I don't know.
Well, I'm not saying you do it at the same time. I think there's a window, like you could catch the gap of there not being a Spider-Man film. Like I'm sure there's going to be a few years before you see the new, whatever the next iteration is of the Tom Holland Spider-Man. So like if you timed it right, and truthfully, like these movies get produced fairly quickly. I understand. Like
yeah.
Disney has a rhythm to it.
Yeah.
But you could make one of these movies in a year if you wanted
They
to.
knocked out a trilogy in 5 years.
Yeah.
Like 4.5, actually.
Yeah. And I mean, Sony has the capital to do it. They could do it if they wanted.
Yeah, it's just, back to Morbius. It's just not. Unfortunately.
It looks really bad.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is about those movies that are like kind of like the B-list superhero movies, but it just looks like a video game. The whole thing looks like a video game to me. And I think they feel like they're flexing really hard on their animation skills.
It's terrible.
But it looks really bad.
I wonder what else I can do. Like, it's like, what the fuck?
It's very cheesy.
It's very
cheesy. I'm not into it.
It's unfortunate for comic book fans. It's unfortunate for fans of Spider-Man, period,
Yeah.
that they're doing this cash grab for this villain universe. And I honestly don't want to see these characters with no Spider-Man.
Which is what Morbius is, a villain.
Yeah, he is sometimes and sometimes not.
Like, was he, as a character in the comic book world, is Morbius relatively relevant? Like, is he a
no.
He's not. I know, like, Venom is like,
He's relevant to Spider-Man.
yeah.
I haven't seen him in a comic book maybe in 10 years.
Yeah.
He's out there somewhere.
Sure. He's floating around.
He's not relevant at
but
all.
he's not like a central
No.
villain or character that's like, the fan base is like.
He's one of those
wanting.
villains that's like, I do bad things because I've been cursed with this.
Yeah.
Not because I'm a bad person.
I got you.
And it's like, all right, but what's the point?
Sure.
There's no point to it. And then with Morbius, they just casted. I saw this headline, and I'm sorry, I meant to text it to you, but I got so agitated as I was reading it. They're moving forward with Kraven the Hunter, which is another Spider-Man villain.
Yeah. I heard about this.
And the headline said, Sony finds villain for villain superhero movie Kraven the Hunter. And then I was like, they found a villain for the villain? I was like, yo, what are y'all doing?
It's strange. It's a strange way of doing it. I feel like there are a lot of superhero films or adaptations that kind of take the villain and they're like trying to turn it into a protagonist rather than like an antagonist.
You don't have to. It's
like they did it with Loki, I feel like pretty successfully. Like everyone kind of like Loki was a villain.
Yeah.
And I feel like has kind of transitioned.
Well, he has that redeeming
away
factor
from that. Like everyone
in
kind
the
of,
books. Like
this
happens
we
to him.
like him now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I feel like Sony's like banking on that in some weird way. Like they want one of these characters to be like endearing all of a sudden, and then we're like going, crazy about that.
We don't.
But it seems like a long shot.
It's just bad over there.
It's not great.
No. I can't. I did my homework. I finished Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh, okay. So I watched that. Terrible. So bad. Dude. It's shocking how bad it was, to be honest. Yeah. I can't believe it.
A lot of cringe moments.
Yes. So much of that movie just was horrible.
It's got some shock value, but it's still not.
I was excited for the bus scene, which is the one scene that everybody kind of talked about as being this like crazy scene. And it was not like, it was maybe the better scene in the movie, I would say. If you were to like really look at all of the scenes together, it was maybe like the most unique, I suppose. But none of it was good. It really fell flat, which is super disappointing because I love that character and I think he's
I feel like
I don't understand how they could screw that up so much. And there was so much hype.
I liked
in a
the
weird way
concept
for that.
I really liked the concept. There was no pacing. It moved way too fast.
I don't even know what the concept really was. It didn't stick to, they were saying how this was picking up like after the first one, which it didn't. They're living in like a townhouse. And
like, where's the house? Where's the farm?
He's an orphan, and they're like in a city square, which is, that makes no sense.
And you know, I knew it was bad when the very first action scene where Leatherface hits the guy's leg with the hammer, and it just like bends backwards. It's like I was like, oh yeah, I was already in it, so I couldn't abort.
Yeah, and then all of like, I also really can't stand it when there is like the political commentary that's just so cheap and surface level. Yeah. Like it just feels so lame. Like somebody was like, we're gonna put a Tesla in this, and these kids are gonna be like
gentrifiers,
the worst children. Like they're gonna be, such assholes.
It was.
And oh my God, it was just.
It had the makings to be the
worst. And
it just wasn't. It just wasn't. I don't get why. I don't care about spoiling this. Sorry, guys. If you haven't seen it yet, but I don't get why he cut off his mother's face. And he put on the mother's face.
Yeah.
That made.
Yeah. So I think that if we're being accurate to the original like Ed Gein story, which is what he's based off of, the character is based off of Ed Gein.
Right.
I think Ed Gein did some dismembering of his mother, and that was like the precipice for his, I guess, like mental collapse. Was when his mother died, he really went off the deep end. Huh. That's like what he had, like a weird relationship with his mom, and when his mom died, things apparently went like super south, and he did some weird stuff with her body, and that was kind of what kicked it all off. So that could be kind of a tie back to that, but I don't know for sure.
And then he propped her up in the woods like that. It's just so much of this movie made no sense.
Yeah, it really made little to no sense.
Why would you drive a Tesla to the middle of Texas?
Yeah, and at no point was anyone in this, again, seems like ironic, but at no point was anyone like, we got to charge this thing. Where are you going to charge? It's hard to charge them in normal cities. I mean, you're not, where are you going to charge it like in the middle of like wherever they were, Texas? Like, and there's not even gas out there.
Where were there were 1, 2, 3 people in this town? Leatherface, his mother,
mom,
and the mechanic.
The mechanic, yeah. Oh, and the 2 cops.
Oh yeah, the 2 cops. Yeah. Like it just made no sense, man.
It really made no sense. That was a movie that had the smallest budget and the worst team associated.
Yeah, I'm glad it was.
It took place on a back lot somewhere that was not being used, and it was not a set that was originally intended for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It was from like La La Land or something, and they were like, "We're just going to make it scary."
Yeah, I think it was from
make him live in this city or something.
There was a movie that was like similar to that. And I want to say it was like Kingsman-esque, and it looked like the same exact set.
Yeah. And it was bad.
Yeah,
I
think that set was reused now that you say something.
What about, what's that new one on HBO? Our Flags Mean Death? Is that what it's called?
I keep seeing that.
Yeah.
Saw no trailers. I have no idea what it is.
First couple of episodes are out. You should check it out.
You watched it?
It's funny. It's good. I like it.
Is it, what is it? What's the premise?
It is, so it's the same like team that does What We Do in the Shadows. You ever watch What We Do in the Shadows?
The vampires and shit.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm all about that.
Yeah.
I'm
so
agitated. I went to lunch.
It's all good, man.
I got this fucking stain on my shirt.
It's all right.
And
I'm uncomfortable myself. It's all good. I like keep moving around in my chair.
It's all right.
Change the pillows and everything like 10 times. Yeah, it's good. You should check it out. The first couple of episodes are out. They're very short episodes. It's HBO, to clarify. And I'm a little afraid. Cheers.
Oh, you don't have any?
I have a little bit. You can throw some in there if you want.
I will top you off.
So they put, like, I think the first 3 episodes out right away, which it seems like somebody listened to my method of watching streaming content. And
you think they tuned in?
tuned in.
Did they go to shameless plug? Did
Disney,
they go to
Disney knows
badguysandbourbon.com?
that I wait for 3 or 4 episodes to come out. HBO is just paying attention instead of them.
Oh, okay.
But they dropped like 3 episodes. They're like 23. They're short episodes. They're like, I think, under a half hour, maybe at a half hour. So it's really easy to watch and get through. I feel like it's going to be one of those things that's like a 6-episode season, and it's just going to feel like.
Well, pilot
too
seasons
fast.
are usually like that. Like they're like, let's see how the people react, and then if we get good ratings,
and then I won't see it again for another like 2 years, and I'll lose interest. But anyway, God. Well, we've been talking for a while. Let's get into.
Damn.
I feel like we've been talking for a while. We can get into. One more thing I have here on my phone actually. I Am Legend sequel. Michael B. Jordan came out, apparently pitched a concept to Will Smith so good, they say, that Will Smith has signed on to get
this press run is going to be annoying.
So
Michael B. Jordan.
I remember
and
I Am
Will Smith.
Legend when that was coming out. I was in film school at the time, and everybody was like, they thought that was like the new Titanic. They were like also stoked.
It was good. I still, if it's on today, I'll watch it.
Yeah. And then such a weird movie in the sense that there was like the 2 endings. The ending that they went with like
And then the
publicly
alternate ending,
was
yeah.
like, everybody was like, okay, and then not great. But then they put the alternate ending out,
Yeah.
and then that was like how they were going to continue it originally. They were like, oh, well, in the alternate ending, he doesn't die. And this is how we're going to continue the story. Very, very strange how that all played out. But thoughts on that?
That's gonna confuse people, the casual, because my wife sent me the news article like, they're doing this? I thought he died. And I'm like, yeah, but there's like an alternate ending. She's like, I never seen that. I'm like, yeah. Most people haven't. And I don't know.
Yeah.
I would have preferred.
Although it could be a prequel. Even,
that's what I would prefer.
Yeah, it might be a prequel. Maybe
or a sequel. Maybe, I don't know. Somehow, I don't know.
I would guess prequel.
But
I guess I think they're gonna stick with the original ending, and they're just gonna do like, you could do a prequel. You could do a whole series prequel.
Yeah.
You don't need to go after the fact.
I mean, I'm about anything with like zombies and shit. But
yeah.
I was
and I think technically they're vampires.
Yeah,
right?
I was about to say,
and that was a huge like issue when the movie came out, because they're kind of the
like
interpretation was more or less that they were zombies, but they're supposed to be like vampires. I think
they're just kind of undead in I Am Legend, which makes you think because of their aesthetics and their appearance that they're zombies. And then I went and I did a little more research. Come to find out they're supposed to be vampires in the original movie.
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh, okay. So I'm hoping like maybe this is their chance to like really narrow in on the original concept. Mm-hmm. Maybe they mutate somehow and like are actually become, vampire type, which makes sense now that you think about it. Like they only come out at night. And they act crazy. But apparently, like the lore story, and you can correct me if I'm wrong if you know it, is he survives this cataclysmic thing with the virus, and he goes out killing the zombie/vampires, but there's like 2 groups of them, like good ones and then bad ones, and he goes out and he's killing the good ones by accident, and the bad ones are like great, like you know what I mean. Like I don't know the whole layout, but apparently that's what, like some of them are actually like living, talking in the shadows type of zombie vampires. So I'm hoping for more of a fleshed out story of like what they actually are. I mean, Will Smith was great in it. You know, like the Castaway type. I'm alone.
Yeah.
I felt really bad when he lost his dog.
Yeah, I think everybody was upset about that. So this is a perfect point to transition.
We going back now?
Because we've been rolling for like 40 minutes now. So we'll spend some time on the Batman.
Right.
We'll get into that, and this is the part where we'll probably, I'm not going to say for sure, but we'll probably spoil some things. So if you've not seen it and you are planning to see it,
tune off.
Yeah, check
or
out
go
Batman.
watch the Batman, and then or what we'll do for this one is I can timestamp it for you, and we'll put the timestamps of what we've talked about in the description. So this episode may take a little longer if I gotta watch it before we put it out, but I can do that for you, and then or for our. Can I say it? Fans? Do we have fans?
I don't know, man.
I'm not famous.
I don't know how many there are. But sure, you can do whatever you want.
And then people, if you're gonna watch it on YouTube, and in the podcast description, you can jump to the points, and it'll show you like, hey, all right, I'm gonna turn it off now because they're gonna talk about the Batman.
Yep. All right. So, the Batman. Let's get into some of the spoilers on the Batman. How did you feel about the Riddler?
Okay.
In his character in this.
I have to see it again to get this part of it right, but I want to say he was in the orphanage, right? That was
correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So I think again, the reimagining of comic book villains as sadistic serial killers for grounded reality is great, right?
Yeah.
It's just you're just finding a different way to tell the story with these people, and,
Sure.
and that's and that's awesome. And I think I mean, of course, there's a lot of similarities to like far right extremists with him.
Yeah.
His followers on that weird social media platform. I thought the outfit was very menacing.
Yep.
I would be like, if I'm like chilling and, this guy in a leather ski mask face came out, I'd be frightened. I'd be frightened. So that, that
Sure.
did it. I thought he wasn't necessarily, and again, this is a reimagining. I don't think he was true to the nature of how the Riddler really operates.
character, yeah.
He's not really a killer.
Yeah.
But we're going with the serial killer, aspect of re-identifying these characters. So that I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
I didn't have any problems with it.
I enjoyed it for the most part. I would say that I feel like he kind of crossed the line into being the Joker a little bit.
He was almost there.
And so that was a little off-putting for me. I felt like the Riddler was not, and again, there's different interpretations of him, but I felt like they kind of made him out to be a little bit crazier than he
Usually comes off, yeah.
He comes off like, and I guess he was smart and intelligent. I just felt like by the end, he was, like this guy is just kind of crazy and insane and nuts. And I felt like the Riddler was never really that way. I felt like he was a little bit more clever.
More
and
clever,
like a little
more
bit grounded.
calculated.
I felt like the Joker was always kind of that character. Even in the end, when
They meet.
they're kind of, when they meet,
Spoiler.
and they do the Joker reveal, like they really just seem like almost the same person in a way.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that was that was an interesting piece to it. I thought I can't remember the actor's name, but I think he did an okay job. I think he maybe tried a little hard in the interrogation scene. It felt like a little
forced.
Felt a little forced.
That was. I mean, there were some reveals that helped the story.
Yeah.
But that was probably a scene we didn't need.
I wanted to see him. I would have rather had seen him more like calm, cool, and collected. I would have rather him been more of a
inverse of
like
the Joker.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Rather than being like so dramatic and over the top. It felt like he was trying to kind of one up Heath Ledger or something in that moment, just because that interrogation scene was reminiscent of the one in The Dark Knight. So it would have been nice to see him be maybe more
serious, more of a
more sinister.
Yeah.
Less
crazy person.
Yeah, less comical almost. Not like he was being a comedian, but like less like Jokerish, I guess is the way I would put it. So I would say that I thought he was scary. I did enjoy the outfit. They were very outspoken about it being kind of a ripoff of the Zodiac
Yeah.
outfit in the Zodiac Killer. I thought they maybe were a little close in that. When I saw him initially, I was like, oh, it really is the Zodiac. Like, that's what they're doing. Even with all the ciphers and all that. And I know the Riddler did like clues and all that, but even the ciphers were very similar in how he left the cards and all that was.
It was
kind of like watching the Zodiac movie almost, but like with Batman in it.
Yeah, I had a great description for this entire movie, and I'll find it before we finish. But I thought it was a great neo-noir detective film.
Yeah.
Right? It really dug deep into the elements of Batman, especially an early Batman that we never have seen. And for people like me who are a fan of the Detective Comics Batman, right? Like, this is what Batman does.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
that was a big thing for sure.
I liked the minimal technology. I love the angst. I love the visceral inexperience of Batman. Not to get away from Riddler, but
no, it's good. I think we wrapped up on that.
When he is running from the police station and he gets to the roof.
Yeah.
An experienced Batman jumps. Clearly.
For sure.
Like, I don't care about how high I am. I have the experience, the totality, and the gear to flush out any situation I'm in. Where he gets to the roof and he's like, oh, shit. Like, oh.
Yeah, it was... I don't know. I felt a little torn on all of that when the movie was kind of said and done. I could never really tell where he was at in his like Batman journey. I suppose, like, I guess given some of the situations that you're describing, like, yes, I guess you could draw from that he was a younger Batman, but you never really got a sense of where he was at in the process. Like, I didn't know whether he had been doing this for 10 years. Did he just start doing this?
You have to, and I don't know if you may have missed it.
I may have missed it.
In the very beginning, when he's journaling,
yes,
he says, year 2.
Okay.
I'm only in my second year as Batman, or something to that effect.
Okay, so then he's young into it.
Yeah, he's a novice.
Okay.
And, for him being a novice, I thought some of the things he had were fairly...
I was going to say the suit and the technology seemed like it was relatively...
He had been working on it for a while.
That is true. And on the other side of that coin, though, the bat bike and the car and all of that was, I thought, not that great.
No. I thought they did justice for the point he was.
Yes.
Right? That motorcycle sucked. The Batmobile needed some work.
It looked cool. Everything I thought looked cool. It wasn't like, I don't know. So like, and it's tough because I compare everything to the Christopher Nolan series. And in the Christopher Nolan series, Batman was like sexy as hell, right? The dopest cars.
The suit.
The dopest suit. Lived in like awesome spots. Like made the most of it. And that was kind of, and he was a young Batman. I mean, you saw Batman Begins, but I kind of had this understanding of like, I guess Bruce Wayne as being more of a like...
calculated and put together.
Yeah, like Bruce Wayne always seemed like he kind of had like, he was more kind of like a Tony Stark or something. Like he had more... to his disposal.
Yeah.
He was just more like dialed in, even though the Batman thing was maybe new to him, and he was still figuring that out.
He's still well. Let's compare, right? So in Batman Begins, he has Lucius Fox and he has Wayne Enterprises, right?
Yes, but so does Robert Pattinson in this iteration.
Well,
because he's at the Wayne Tower. I mean, he obviously has access to those things. He might not be using them yet.
He's not using them yet. Right.
Or I mean, we don't know that.
I do want to know what the suit was made of because
we don't know that.
They really put emphasis on it being bulletproof.
Well, I mean, like again,
he was shot at multiple times.
The suit very advanced. The cameras in the eye advanced. Like there was a lot of things.
Stuff that I feel like he may have like.
I don't
stolen,
know if
but he's not. He's not
making that.
Nah.
Exactly. So there has to be a character somewhere rolling around at Wayne Industries or Enterprises.
And I just remembered this.
That is providing that stuff.
my good friend Yo Q, he's a DJ, New York, my buddy. He dialed me into the Year One novel, and in this iteration, Batman has not gone through the League of Shadows.
Yeah.
Alfred trains him, right? So you can kind of see the differences in the Nolan and in the Reeves Batman. The Nolan's, he's more martial arts.
Yeah.
Lurks in the shadows, where, yes, Reeves Batman comes out of the shadows, but his fighting style is more of a hand-to-hand boxing style, and that comes from Alfred.
Got you.
Right? So...
interesting. Okay.
When you kind of put those parts of it together, and then the story is based off of it's two stories they used, right?
Yeah.
The Year One novel and The Long Halloween.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? And they kind of, combine them, and the Batman aesthetic they use is from Year One, and then the story is the long Halloween. And in the Year One, he's trained to how to fight, like, by Alfred, but he was hitting hard as fuck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like he was really, but back to the tech. I think Alfred's involvement with his development as Batman is more there than what's shown.
Got you. Okay. Alfred didn't seem like he was that. I don't know. He seemed like he was cracking codes and he had some like experience. I think that was stated. I never got the sense that he was like helping with the tech, but it could be, or like the training or fighting or anything. But maybe it could be. I'm not saying it's not. Not accurate.
We never saw Alfred get out the hospital, right?
No.
They had that scene in the hospital,
yeah,
which wasn't needed. We could have just had
To circle back to the time length on this movie, there was so much in this movie that was not probably needed. So many scenes. It was so long. It felt so long. Which making 3-hour movies is very challenging. Like,
it's disrespectful.
It's very, very challenging because like there's like such a fine line of it just being way too long, and then also having something that feels like, that's 3 hours. Like I didn't know that. Like when I watch, and you feel differently about Dune, but when I saw Dune, when Emily and I went and saw Dune, it was like when it was over, we were like, oh man, like it's over.
Well, it's visually captivating,
yes,
right?
Yes,
so you're watching it.
It's a big experience.
You're like, yo, like. And again, I had some comments about Dune on one of our other shows, and I didn't enjoy it as much as you did because I had no idea what was going on.
Yeah,
right?
I got you.
But visually, I was still stuck in how beautiful it was, right?
Yes.
Which is why I will be tuned in, and then I had to do more research.
Sure.
And then this is just the setting up of another part of the story. So to that point with those long movies, man, like this one, and I was going to ask you a question. This one had lots of, I won't say fluff because it did add to the story, but it could have been flushed out in a smaller way.
It was an HBO series that they crammed into a movie.
Yeah.
And it's a shame to say that because like, here's the thing. I love what Matt Reeves did. I love the world and the characters. I really enjoyed all of it. Like it's a very like visceral and like real place that he has kind of built. Like that world that he put together is impressive.
Gotham City Garden.
And I want to spend time there. Like I enjoy it. But the thing is like it would have been best suited, I feel like, for 8 hours of like 2 months, like over 2 months, I could have spent 8 hours there. Just break it up. And I feel like it would have played out a little bit better because when you try to like just pile it all into one thing, it really feels a little bit like I don't know, it's like an endurance thing at the end.
To pump through it.
And some of that comes from the fact that, it feels, and this is a TV show like quality that I feel like I recognize, but it felt like they built like 4 or 5 sets and they were like, this is what we could build. And we're going to spend 3 hours here. And that's a lot of time.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot
We were in the club underneath the city or whatever.
The Iceberg Lounge.
Yes, we were in the Iceberg Lounge like for
5-6 times.
Many times. We were coming back there all the time. All the time.
I loved, before you talk about how many,
Okay.
put a pin. I do love how many times he got into the club 3 different times.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought that was sick. But go ahead.
No, I mean, they're not, again, it's not poorly done. Like, they're cool places, and they spent a lot of time fleshing them out. Like, they're all very, like, realized.
Yeah.
And so they're cool. But when you keep coming back to the same place, like, time and time and time again, it feels like something that would happen in a TV show. Like, I'm going to see this more and
real
more.
Full House.
Yeah, but, like, I might not see it for another few episodes, but I'll see it again.
Yeah.
Or, like, there was just a lot of those situations, a lot of those moments where I felt like we kind of kept revisiting the same, like, visual
Parts.
like palette, like
Yeah.
just kind of over and over
Iceberg
and over and over.
Lounge.
And
The Batcave.
and you could even tie that into just like the color palette of even the movie, right? Like, it's basically the whole thing takes place at night. And
I had a thought about
kind
that,
of
yeah.
becomes a little like fatiguing after a while, because you feel like you're constantly, and somebody might say, oh, it's a creative thing, you know, like Batman, The Dark Knight, like always being out at night, everything always happening at night, you know, like
It's
that's
a-
when he
yeah.
does his thing. But it just, you know, I don't know. I remember getting to the end of it and just feeling a little fatigued by the fact that I felt like I spent 3 hours in an alley. Everything was just, you know what I mean? Like very
Yeah.
dark and claustrophobic and
Rainy.
yeah, rainy. Or like, I don't know. I just thinking back on the Christopher Nolan series, there were like these
There were bright points.
epic, like there was also like these epic action sequences in scenes that are just
I do say
unrivaled.
that this movie lacked the action
Big moments.
sequences.
Big
you know
moments.
what I mean?
But again, that feels like a TV show thing to me.
Yeah.
Like we could afford to do a car chase, but not a big car chase.
Yeah, just 2 cars.
It's like a minimal car chase.
The car chase scene was good.
And you could say, well,
But
like,
it-
yeah, but it's realistic. But yeah, but it's not.
It is what it's. Yeah,
You're not
yeah.
flipping a semi in Gotham. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
no, yeah,
like,
it's not happening.
I remember seeing the scenes in The Dark Knight and just being like, this is somebody like spent a lot of time planning out these action sequences.
You know-
These are big set pieces.
Yeah.
And all of this stuff. The Batman does not have that.
The Batman was shot on a set, and you can tell. And The Dark Knight was shot on location.
Yeah.
You know, like one specific scene that stands out to me. There's 2 actually. The sequence of where Christian Bale's Batman has to masquerade with the ballerinas to go to Japan and kidnap the
Yes.
accountant, right? Massive yacht,
Yes.
ocean sequence,
Yes.
right? He dives in, and then
Yes.
it cuts to him standing over the skyline
Yes.
of inner city. Was he in China? Was it in China
Yeah,
or Japan?
it was China.
It was China. And he's standing over the skyline looking at the building,
Yes.
right? Where we got aspects of that with the Reeves, where we get him standing over the skyline, but then it's just like, all right, and he just, turns and walks away, and then we go to the next scene. Like,
Yeah.
when does there was an extreme focus on the actors and
Yes.
not the set
Yeah.
and
They
the
weren't
locations.
big sequences.
Yeah.
Like it was much smaller and way more contained.
Yeah, it was very contained. I'll say
And
that. Yeah.
it felt like it was like a very intimate version of Batman and all these characters. And again, it felt like they took a TV formula and kind of applied it to a movie maybe. And it's not to say I didn't like it. I thought, like, realistically, I thought Robert Pattinson did a great job as Batman. I enjoyed the character. I thought it was probably, out of all of the Batman movies, it's probably the most like beautiful looking. Like the
Yeah.
shots are just incredible. Outside of, like, again, if you're here for like the big action sequences, then the Christopher Nolan one is going to best it every time. But
yeah.
there are some shots in the Batman that are just like phenomenal.
Oh yeah.
Phenomenal shots. So that was a lot of fun. I thought Catwoman was great. I thought she
I thought
was.
Zoe, yeah.
I enjoyed her.
I liked looking at her. So
She looks
that was
great. She
yeah.
looks amazing. And I thought they had good chemistry. I thought that was a good, like, dynamic.
I think they did have great chemistry, and I think giving Catwoman a backstory that ties into Batman's investigation
Yeah.
was great.
Yeah.
Right? Because a lot of the time, like with the Michelle Pfeiffer Batman, Catwoman, with who's the most recent Catwoman? Selena Kyle. That's her name. Was it Anne Hathaway?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, Anne Hathaway.
Was on the tip of my tongue.
And
That's it.
in the Nolan series, Catwoman's just kind of in the way, right? Just kind of Batman shows up to do what he's supposed to do, and then here comes Catwoman, just kind of.
Yeah, but see, Catwoman in the Christopher Nolan series is already very established.
Oh yeah,
she has like tech and equipment and gear. She's not wearing a ski mask. Like she's like she has equivalent technology. It seems like to what Bruce Wayne has access to. So she's obviously been doing this for a lot longer.
She's an actual burglar.
Yeah,
masquerading as a caterer.
Yeah,
right. But it's still you could remove her from this movie, and it would still be the same movie.
Sure, correct.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can remove Michelle Pfeiffer from.
You could say that about a lot of the characters. I felt like there were villains, like various like kind of like offshoots of villains in this movie that I felt like they were there to be there, but not necessarily needed. I mean, the movie was really about the Riddler for the most part.
Yeah.
But you have all the other Batman characters coming into play. You know what I mean?
I thought, they're trying to build something here.
Oh, sure, for sure.
It wasn't. I kind of feel like that takes away from it. When going into a movie that this is going to be a trilogy run, it kind of takes away the element of the movie being complete.
Yeah.
I would love just a complete movie and then being surprised that there's another one that builds off of that.
Yeah.
It just kind of, and that's why it kind of gets a lower grade for me. But yeah, all in all, man.
It was a half hour too long. They really needed to figure out how to cut that down.
What's your number one scene you would have taken out?
The whole sequence, and this is going to be weird, probably sound weird. The whole ending sequence, the whole like final act, I probably could have done without. I don't think I needed the Riddler to be a city ruining, wrecking villain. I kind of like the idea of him being more of a I'm going to kill these couple of people because I want to reveal the truth about this like criminal underbelly, right? Like I want to reveal the reality here. I don't think I needed him to step into I'm blowing all the dams and I'm going to try to kill the whole city or wipe everybody out. I could have done without all of that.
I was surprised by that. I was
Yes, that felt like a tack-on situation, and it was like, well, we got to do something big at the end. We can't if it's gonna be an intimate, dark, like more nuanced take on Batman, just let the story be that way. It felt like they tried to turn it into the Dark Knight at the very end. Like, well, we got to do something big and dramatic,
very cataclysmic.
I got to be honest. When they started blowing the city walls down and they were flooding the city, I was like, I don't care about this. And not only that, but I don't want to spend the time watching him save these people.
Yeah,
I would have much rather him just go to jail and meet the Joker.
Yeah, go to jail.
That would have been better for me.
Or I would have much rather seen a situation where the Riddler presents this, and it felt very Dark Knight-esque, where you gotta save Maggie Gyllenhaal, or you gotta save Harvey Dent.
Yeah,
it turned into that. And if you're gonna do that, I would have much rather you made it Riddler's version, where you got to find the puzzle pieces to stop this.
Yeah.
Right? And then maybe one dam blows up, but he saves the city. Now we're in a situation where the entire Gotham smells like shit because it just felt like, I don't know, man. It just that part of it didn't sit well.
I didn't. Yeah. The big finale just wasn't a big finale. You know what I mean? It wasn't like the Christopher Nolan, oh my gosh, this is this crazy action sequence that's just over the top. It just felt very safe and kind of in the box. I felt like I'd seen it before. the flooding of the thing. It felt very like, I don't know. I would have much rather seen them get the Riddler in the cafe, send him to prison, and then have the big twist be that he went to prison to break out the Joker. Like he wanted to get caught.
Yeah.
So that he could ultimately like do that.
So
like I would just rather the ending be more small and intimate like the rest of the movie as opposed to the big dramatic thing.
Maybe he was working with the Joker the whole time or something, you know what I mean? Like that would have been a good payoff.
It would have been a cool twist, and it would have made the Joker reveal more impactful.
Like he was just there.
Yes, and you could have the Joker could have been somebody that was communicating with him on the forums, or he could have been somebody that he'd been working with. Or I like the idea of
him being like the protege to the Joker.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Like
and the ending of it being that the two of them never get caught. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of like I don't need the two of them in jail at the end of this. Like I don't.
And I hate when directors want to give insight to their films. I kind of just let me be open to my own interpretation of what happened. I don't need you to clarify. So Matt Reeves came out after the premiere. I think he did an interview and he said a number of things. And one of them was mainly that Batman has already encountered the Joker, which is why he's in Arkham.
Yeah.
Right. And he goes in and he talks about like, he's not the same Joker.
Yeah, but like I don't know. If he's only been Batman for 2 years, it's hard to imagine that he catches
the Joker.
But I don't know.
Yeah.
It seems a lot of like, I don't know, scrambling. I think the movie's going to do well. I think it turned out well. I think it's going to obviously yield other Batman. So I think he's trying to like piece together some like
major
greater conspiracy. But yeah, as far as what you could have cut out of it, there's a lot of things. You could have kidnapped or killed less people. Like I felt like we were kind of constantly kidnapping DAs and, cops and, you could have done one less of those maybe, or I don't know. You could have done less of those things. I would have really liked to see Wayne Manor in some capacity. The tower that he was living in felt really like weird, like lofty kind of not Bruce Wayne to me.
Yeah. I do appreciate how he used the abandoned railroads. That's never really a fleshed out thing with the Batman movies, right? Like even in the the Bale in the Nolan series, it's just he just keeps driving, and then he's out, right? Like he's in Gotham City.
Sure.
Like with this one, like he was like riding through train tunnels.
Yeah, but he was never. It never seemed like he was really leaving the city limits when he was doing that. It feels like he was kind of just held up at Wayne Tower, and that's where like his Bat Cave is. At the bottom, he leaves. Like it. No, I know, but the Bat Cave is in Wayne Tower in this iteration.
So he doesn't have a home.
He never goes to a like a.
He just keeps going down.
He's in a city. He's in the bottom of Wayne Tower. That's where like him and Alfred are all like held up and doing all their stuff.
Well, maybe that's
he's in the bottom of Wayne Tower, and then I guess so he's like living upstairs in the penthouse or somewhere upstairs. I don't know. Maybe. But the tower gets attacked, and there's all or whatever, and that's obviously where him and Alfred are living. So
maybe that's when they go out. They move out to
maybe I don't know. I always think, and again, it is a young version of Batman, I suppose. So you kind of have to take.
Yeah, he's supposed to be like 22, 23 at this point.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see what happens in the sequel. I hope that he gets some cooler tech, and I hope that he brings a little bit of like the coolness back to Batman. Some of like that sexiness back.
How'd you like Detective Gord?
Thought he did a good job. I liked him.
I like Jeffrey Wright.
I like him as an actor. I think he's good. I mean, he's obviously he got a lot of screen time, so good for him. I think he did a good job. You could have maybe cut some of his roles or some of the aspects of his role, but the biggest probably plot hole around him is his relationship with Batman.
Yeah,
I don't know why
weird.
he brings Batman everywhere, and every single cop has a problem with it.
It's like a crutch, right? I would have much rather him be independently working with Batman to solve the crimes rather than just including him, right? It just felt off for Batman to be walking through a crowded room of cops. You know, I didn't mind it as much. I thought it was weird that like that doesn't bother me. It's the piece of the story where like all the cops have a problem with it, but Gordon doesn't. Like if Gordon is this tight with him and he's bringing him on cases and stuff like that, like it seems like the cops would be either like hip to the fact that Batman is around. Batman's here. Okay.
Yeah, they all are like so angry at him. I'm thinking if this is the environment that Batman's working in, like this isn't what he would do. Like he wouldn't hang out. I feel like there was some dynamics there that I just thought were weird.
His value of being at the scene of the crime was clearly shown, which was great.
Yes.
But I would have much rather Batman already be there and they not know.
Yeah,
right? He's in the seat, like he's sitting in the corner of the ceiling.
Yeah.
Right. And then they're like, oh, and then he says, it's
yes, and they did that with the Christian Bale Batman. There were many situations where he would appear in a crime scene and then disappear out of the crime scene, and nobody knew how. Like,
well, that was established, right? And I'm guessing this all could be intentional, right? We may see.
I'm sure that it is intentional, and I'm probably not giving Matt Reeves a fair shake because everyone's obsessed with the Christopher Nolan Batman, and
we're doing a major comparison rather than.
I stand by my statements, though. It's a little too long. It could have used some bigger action pieces and some more exciting like sequences, and I think you could have tried to do a little less. That's all. A little less,
maybe. Less is more.
I thought the storyline was really good, though. I mean, I thought like the whole like true crime aspect of it was solid. I thought they tied all the loose ends up. I thought that was all great. Yeah. So I feel like I covered everything on.
I enjoyed it. I gave it a nice 7. I think my only takeaway is not takeaway. My only gripe with DC, Warner Brothers, the over Batman saturation is that now we have another Batman set in another isolated universe away from Batman being Batman in the DC universe.
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying. I'm 100% there with you.
And I feel like that takes away from him being Batman.
I bet you they give Matt Reeves
the keys.
Little bit. Yeah, I bet you they give him a little bit more runway with this. I think because it's going to be successful, I think people are going to like it for the most part. Yeah. There will be people, like, it's not going to be for everyone. Like, my parents, I think, love the Christopher Nolan series. It's great. It's like James Bond, but Batman. Everything's cool, right? This is probably a little, like, dark and grimy and probably a little bit more, like,
it's real neo-noir.
This is, like, sad Batman.
Yeah.
So it is, it's not going to appeal to like everybody, but I think like the hardcore Batman fans will love a lot of what Matt Reeves did.
I loved a lot of the elements of it.
Yes. Like I would 100% go see the next one, and I look forward to it. I'm excited for it. It's not on the same level as The Dark Knight for me. I think that it, in my opinion, like Batman Begins and The Dark Knight Rises are not the strongest Batman films. I think Dark Knight sits above both of those. Yeah. I think the Batman is probably a second to that.
Yeah.
Like I feel like it really accomplishes a lot of what Christopher Nolan's series did not do. It's, it kind of is like a love letter a little bit to Batman, and I think to hardcore Batman fans, whereas some people probably felt like Christopher Nolan's Batman was like a little too polished or a little too, again, James Bond like. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm here for the long run. I would say that I really enjoyed it. I would give it, probably a 7.5, 8. Yeah, I would say Dark Knight is maybe a 9 or 10. You know? So for sure. And so, yeah, I'm happy with it. I thought it was good. I did not stay for the final thing, the final scene. I had read that it was like a cipher or or an email
It's
address or a URL or something.
It's
you could go to it and
when Batman breaks into the Riddler's social media account.
Yeah.
It's the URL of El Ratada.
Yep.
And then you go to the website.
And there's like a cipher there.
You solve the riddles. Yeah. It's just tough seeing another Batman not be included. Like, that's the only thing for me, right? Like, I don't want to compare it to Marvel, but why can't we have this Batman and Justice League Batman?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's
I don't think
gripe.
Justice League Batman didn't do well. I don't think it played well. I don't think anybody liked him.
Yeah,
and
they can't get that part right.
They took way too long with the Flash. I don't even know why they're making the movie. I don't.
2024 now.
I have no
almost?
idea why they're making it.
And then they just
Wonder Woman was fine, but kind of, fell off a little bit. Obviously, the second one wasn't as good.
It was terrible.
And in my opinion, I think the Matt Reeves universe that he has created, while it's only one film at this point in time, I think that is the place. If I were DC, that's where I would put my money.
Just put the money there.
I would find a Wonder Woman in that universe.
Yeah,
I would find a Superman in that universe.
I would be done with these. And just go.
Yes,
bring them into this grimy, gritty.
Out of all of those movies, out of all of them, Aquaman, out of all of those films, the Matt Reeves Batman is the most fleshed out and the most intriguing version of the DC universe that I have experienced so far. That's what I would say. Outside of the Christopher Nolan series, which you were never going to get, you're never going to get a universe out of that.
No.
You know what I'm saying? So I say take the Matt Reeves thing, give him the keys to it, let him run wild. Obviously, he's not going to direct all of them.
This made me want to see what he could do with actual, with what he could do with Superman, right?
Yeah.
What he could do.
But you'd have to start over with all those characters because all of the, Superman, Wonder Woman, and The Flash all feel like Marvel versions of those characters. The Batman in Matt Reeves' version feels very different.
Very independent.
Yes. And I like what he's done. I like what he's built. I think it's great. So I would invest in that. That's just my opinion. But
yeah, he can expound on it.
Yep. All right. Well, that's a long one. It's like an hour and 20. So
that's cool.
We'll wrap it up.
People will watch it. It's Batman.
Yeah.